LSU is back on the gridiron today. We'll get to Joe Sloan's press conference in just a moment because your OC did meet with the media today, and I thought it was very vibrant, to say so myself. There are a couple of things I want to point out. I tell you this every time. I'm not going to waste your time in reference to going drill by drill, what they do in individuals. Guys, they're tackling dummies. They're going through blocking schemes. They're going through basically walkthroughs in some of these. They're doing drill work. I will promise you, at least for me, there's absolutely nothing for me to get out of drill work unless guys are standing out with physicality or making stupid plays. But today there was something interesting, and I want to bring this up. Let's go back to the interior offensive line and defensive line. I will be at LSU on Thursday. Blake Baker meets with the media. I don't know if y'all knew that, but Blake Baker is meeting with the media on Thursday. I will be there, and I'm going to try my damnedest to ask him a question here about Sadir Mitchell, the Texas defensive tackle transfer. There are a couple of things here. We've mentioned one of them about potentially going to the portal, getting another DT. We'll get to that in a moment. We've had that discussion before. Let's get to Sadir Mitchell. He's not being moved. He's not getting moved by anybody on your interior offensive line. So right now, I have Big 99 at a one tech, which is inside the shoulders of the guard in the center, and in some situations lining head up on the center in these run game situations. What I would like to point out here is that nobody on your offensive line is moving 99. You cannot teach 6'6", 355. That's what he's listed as. Now, I'd put him more like 6'5", 370 is what I'd probably put him at. But he's physical as all hell. Today at practice, LSU did double teams. And there are a couple of things that I want to point out here. Number one, I thought Ahmad Bro, for what it's worth, fought like hell. He's an undersized defensive tackle that, guys, quite frankly, he's a defensive end that you tried to bulk up and move the defensive tackle, and you're having to play him because that room right now is not where it needs to be. Let's call it what it is. It's not where it needs to be. So you move him inside. I thought today in these double team periods that you had Ahmad Bro do some really good things. Paul Mabinga got worked. When you are on a double team block with a guard and a tackle on a defensive, on a 3 technique, which is inside the shoulders of the guard and the tackle, in no human way form should any offense ever lose that rep. None. Zero. They should not lose that rep. My bro is winning those reps today. Secondly, and back to Sadir Mitchell. Guys, you need somebody to plug the middle. And I know I probably should say pause after that, but I'm not going to. 99 is doing that for you right now. I am not in the camp. I am not in the camp that spring practice doesn't matter. I know that you, as a fan, have been told that it doesn't matter. That, to me, is complete dog water. Anytime that you're on a practice field and you're taking reps and you're going through a situation where you have a defensive tackle and 2 offensive linemen and you're working on, in the running game, getting off blocks or getting a double team if you're an offensive lineman to the second level and getting to a linebacker so that you can run the football. You cannot tell me that that shit doesn't matter. We don't want to play a spring game. Now, Brian Kelly technically said that they weren't playing a spring game, but LSU is still practicing. So everything that you've been seeing, or we have been seeing, and that we've been talking to you about, or I have been talking to you about, I say I mean the collective media, but that we have been discussing, is what I should say, is you get to see that. Anytime that those situations are up for grabs, they mean something. Because you have a lot of new offensive linemen, 4 brand new starters along that offensive line. Josh Thompson coming in. You have a new tackle in Weston Davis. There's a lot a new center potentially. There's a lot new left tackle. There's a lot you got to figure out. And the facts are that somebody's got to ask Blake Baker about Sadir Mitchell. Right now, LSU has been running with the ones, Don McKinley and Ahmad Bro. I'm not doing that. 99 has got to be in the game for me. If you want to take them out on passing downs or on second down because they're in a passing situation and whatever the case may be of however you want to utilize him, the man should see every first down in the book. He is not getting moved, and that is a plumb fact. There is nobody in that room, probably since 22, and even in 23, Mekhi Wingo was still there, but he got hurt. He was battling and just did not have the performance like he did in 2022. I cannot be convinced that there has been anybody along your interior defensive line that has looked that good in the running game. It's not been there. It's a fact. Is Sadir Mitchell making plays? I don't give a shit if he's making plays. What I give a shit about is that you have somebody at the line of scrimmage who the only role that he has for you, the only role is to generate a guard and a center where they get zero push and that they can't be in the guard or center in any situation cannot get up to the second level. You cannot teach 6'5", 370. That's what I'm going to label him as his height and weight because he ain't no 6'6" and he ain't 355. If he's 355, I have 6 rock hard abs, pause. But that is a truth. Get to the last rep here. You get to the last rep, and you have a down block from the right tackle on a 3 technique, which, again, is in between the guard and the center, inside the shoulders, or inside the foot. I have Weston Davis having one hell of a day against 96, Don McKinley. There are 2 things that I want to point out. Weston Davis has not been making those same amount of mistakes that he made days 1, 2, and 3. Now that the pads have gotten on and those worries and struggles with Weston Davis, has he gotten beat a couple times? Okay. Has he dominated a couple times? Oh, okay. Patrick Payton getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. There was a play that I remember from Saturday where Weston Davis, Patrick Payton's on him. They're going in a 2-minute drill. And actually, I probably should just go back to the play. But Chris Hilton has an in route. And a deep in route for what it's worth. A dig. Patrick Payton's on Weston Davis, and he hits him with a rip move. He stops him. He hits him with the inside spin move. He stops him. He tries to bull rush him the next play. He stops him. He tries to spin inside. He stops him. I mean, he's having some good, productive days here. I do think the physicality of a guy like Jack Pyburn has gotten up to him, but today he's going against a defensive tackle. He shouldn't win the battle versus Dom. Not in this situation. Blocking down, he can get across your face. If Don McKinley gets off the snap good enough, then you're in a place where that he could be across the face of Weston Davis on a run play. And Weston Davis is taking it to him. Which leads me to this ultimate conclusion. I don't know if you need to go in the portal for a defensive tackle, but as I said 2.5, 3 weeks ago, on day 1, and I remember talking about this like it was yesterday, I think you're going in the portal for a DT. If one emerges that you think that can play here, I think they go after it. I 100% think that they do. The question that you'll probably ask me is, Blake, should they? And the God's honest truth answer is yes, they should. I want to see more of Sadir Mitchell. I think they've been slow playing getting him in with the ones. Sorry about you. Sorry about you. Now, Dom has done some good things, but I think you need to move Ahmad Bro to what the position that he was originally recruited for. And I think you do well there. I think you do really well. And Ahmad had a really good day. But as of today's practice report, your interior offensive line could get no push on 93 or on 99. And that is another level of concern for me. I know we've been talking a lot about line play over the last couple of days. Actually, just say the last 3 weeks. It's probably the thing that we've talked about the most. It is the most important. I like what I see from 99. I know, and I could tell you just sourcing in reference to what I hear from sources and even what I hear from the media. I do question the work ethic for Sadir Mitchell. I do question, if you're going to put in the work that needs to be put in here. But the facts of the matter is, and that continues to remain, is that 99 is not moved. He's an immovable force at the current moment. And there's a lot of different things that you can do with a human being like that. Guys, it reminds me really of Jordan Jefferson a couple of years ago, where he should have been starting over the guys that were already in there. No, there was no reason for him not to be starting, but they didn't start him. I hope you don't try to go in the portal and go after one of these defensive tackles and whiff like you did a couple of seasons ago. But what I do hope for is that you're more stable at where you are in NIL and that you can go and get somebody. Because I do think that regardless if that guy hits or not, right? Even if a guy hits or not, let's say you go and get a guy and he doesn't hit. Well, at the end of the day, yeah, you would spend the money, but at least you're giving it a shot. At least you're doing everything that you can. But guys, God forbid if it hits. Because I do think you've upgraded at edge. I do think you've upgraded at corner. Your linebacker play's not really working. That. Whit Weeks isn't out there, and West is, and I know that they mic'd him up today. But let's see what happens at safety, linebacker, interior defensive line. I'd still go after a safety. I'd still go after I would actually, if we're just calling it, I'd go after a linebacker. I know they're not going to, or at least I don't feel like they're going to, but nevertheless, I still would. Guys, everything else other than practice today, you have 20 minutes. The only real good thing that you got out there today was that you got to see some run game stuff. What I would tell you, too, is I don't think at receiver, for what it's worth, that much longer you will see guys like Barry and Brown running with the twos. At some point, Barry and Brown's going to be starting to run with the ones. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It plays out at tight end. I said this last night in the recap of what I've thought about with spring football, right? Air quotes. But I want to end tonight's segment before we get to some of these to this. I would get to this and just saying is that, man, I really do feel like overall, as a team, you have more talent this year than you did a year ago. For me, that part of the question for LSU is not even really a question for me from what I've seen. The speed of wide receiver is ridiculous. The speed of running back is ridiculous. Offensive line, well, Blake, maybe do you take a step back there? Well, guys, here's the truth of it. You didn't run the ball anyway. You didn't run the ball anyway. You couldn't run the ball. You had a top 10 pick at left tackle and you couldn't run the ball. It's ridiculous. Which reminds me, we got to talk about Joe Sloan's press conference. But at edge, at corner, with Deshaun Spears at safety, I feel like you've had some development, and I just think overall you have more talent than you do a year ago. And, well, Blake, you had a 9-4, 8-4 team, whatever you want to label it as. Cool. LSU has more talent on the field today than they did last spring. And I don't even think that part is a question anymore. I think that's an overall fact. Let's get to Joe Sloan here. So Joe Sloan, your OC, met with the media today. I'm just going to get right down to it. Wilson Alexander of The Advocate asked Joe Sloan, what do you want to do in the run? What do you want to be better in the run game? What do you want to be better and do? What can you do to be better in the run game? What can you do to be better in the red zone? Kind of a, well, what do you mean? Kind of response. At least it's how it came off. Maybe I read that wrong, but it's how it came off. Guys, you can't run the football right now. They had a 2-minute drill where Caden Durham had 2 runs with 10 yards plus. Guys, there's 5 guys in the box, 4 guys in the box. You better be able to run the football in that light of a box. Cool. You went down the red zone, and from the 2-yard line, you scored once in 8 attempts. Once. Your quarterback overthrew Xavier Thomas. You can't get in the end zone. And we talked about it on Saturday's practice report. I know that, well, offense will say, well, we got in. No. We have literally the bird's eye view to see it. The bullshit they got in. And even if I gave this offense 3 touchdowns, which they didn't get, because the sequencing I don't think was good enough. I don't think the play calling that I saw so far this spring like gets me giddy about the innovative nature of what you're doing in the red zone. The reason that Wilson Alexander, and I know Wilson well enough, and I think I could say this for him, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think Wilson asked that question because not only were you bad a year ago, but a couple days ago you saw, and it wasn't good either. Guys, you've had some long runs in practice, okay? Cool, you've had some long runs in practice. Cool. But I go to the run game period that we just talked about a minute ago, and I'm like, yeah, Sadir Mitchell's not getting moved. He's not getting moved. You're going to have to go get a forklift and pick him up and go move his big ass. And all due respect to him. All due respect. That's a compliment. Because he's 6'5", 370. You got to be better there. Now, the way that Sloan attacked this and his answering was, well, we have to be better. We have to do things better. We have to execute better. He even talked about Garrett running in the red zone. And we'll talk about him bringing up Garrett running in the red zone in just a minute. But just running in general. Listen, man. The play calling's got to be better there too. Great coordinators make their money, pun intended. They make their money on what they do in the red zone. That is it. That is where they make their bread and butter. The only guys, let's talk about this. Outside of the last 2 games of the playoff, do you know who the number 1 coordinator in the country was in the red zone? By the way, he's been a top 5 OC in the red zone the last 5 years. You know who that guy is? He's the only one that can say this. Mike Denbrock. I went and looked it up today. Notre Dame was first in the country until the last 2 playoff games where they're playing elite talent. Going into that, guys, they finished in the top 5. in efficiency rate. Guys, in 2022 and 2023, you had some times where Jaden didn't score against Florida State or whatever. Guys, do you understand how elite you were in the red zone? Guys, you had a running back, a four-string running back in 2022 that had double-digit rushing touchdowns because you kept it simple, you pounded the rock, and by the way, you ran the football. Which brings me to Sloan's other point about, look, we've really worked with Garrett about, like, sometimes, brother, you gotta put the ball down, and you're gonna have to run to make these defenses respect you. So basically what he's saying, and he's not wrong. Garrett has run more this spring than he ever has. Is he going to run in the game? Guys, teams are going to play too high on you. They're going to play too high with two high safeties back, and they're going to play quarters, and they are going to back off of you because you're going to want to hit the bomb down the field. They know it. We know it. Everybody in the country knows it. And I will tell you this, and this is a fact. I talked to somebody not a part of LSU staff today in the SEC. He goes, man, they got a lead speed at wide receiver you've been seeing out there, huh? And I'm like, cool. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? You know, coaches who tell you that they don't listen to these practice reports, they're stupid. Or watch practice film of other teams, it's stupid. They do. They all know it. And they know who I'm talking about. Teams are going to play too high on you like they did a year ago. They're going to play off of you. They're going to play quarters, some version of man too high, whatever they're going to do. And they're going to make Garrett, when everybody bails out, to step up in the pocket and for him to run on him. That is a fact. The reason Sloan brought that up today should end it because they are telling him to do it, everything that you and I talked about last season. Another thing, we are at practice a couple of days ago. In case you missed this, I want you to hear this. In case you missed it, we're at practice and they do a bootleg right with Garrett, and Garrett runs the ball for 8 yards. I guess the media was making a loud reaction. I do remember personally standing next to Wilson Alexander, speaking of him, and saying, run it loudly. And he did run it. I don't think he heard me. There's no way that he heard me, but I did say it. Just natural reaction. Sloan points up to the media corps and says, I know y'all like that, like he was Kirk Cousins. I know y'all like that. No, everybody should like it because it's 1,000% what he's got to do. And your offensive coordinator brought that up today because they know it was a big deal and a big problem. He doesn't bring that up if it's not. Those were the two things that I thought were the biggest thing of what he said. He didn't say much. I mean, they just have to be better in the running game some way, somehow. There's nothing that has happened this spring for me that would indicate that things have changed. And most of the times when that happens, like last year, you were running the ball all over this defense. Well, your defense was bad, but you ran the ball all over your defense a year ago in fall camp, and then you got out in games and you couldn't bust a grape to save your life. But this team was horrible defending the run a year ago. Horrible. They were really bad. Normally that springs when teams aren't doing anything in the running game during spring, during fall, 9 times out of 10. The main thing that you're going in the season, man, we're not good here. It just completely flips it on its head, and then you start running the ball. But that is the truth of what we've seen this spring. So we'll see. All right. PPS says, Blake, do you have an opinion on Jake Olson as a coach? I think there's a couple of things I think about Jake Olson, the safeties coach. Number one, I think he was thrown in a horrible position because the talent level of what he had to work with, guys, he had Sage Ryan and Major Burns, and you're asking him to make those two guys change. Then when Deshaun Spears, as a true freshman, can't live up to us needing him to be good at safety. He's a freshman. He shouldn't even be in that situation. Jordan Gilbert's not good enough. You go in the portal and get him. What hand is he dealt? Now, what he should have done is going out and recruited at a high level, whether it be via the portal or it being via high school. I don't think Chase Thomas committed here because of you. I would love to know what the overall thought is of him in reference to what Blaine Bradford thinks. Pretty sure the kid out of Edna Carr is not being recruited by Jake Olson. But there's no bigger position group from a high school recruiting need more than ever than you need to hit on Blaine Bradford. You have one committed already, but you got to get in the other safety in Blaine Bradford. You have to. You cannot miss there. If you're going to miss somewhere else. Do not miss at safety. So my opinion would be is that I'm not going to ask him, like I did with Bo Davis, I am not going to ask him to change Major Burns and Sage Ryan when those guys have had guys, Major Burns and Sage Ryan had 5 different position coaches at safety. 5. From the Orgeron era to the Cooks era, and even to the Jake Olson era. None of them performed good enough under anybody. And I'm not going to – if that is the case, why am I going to put that one on the last guy that was here? That's dumb to me. Where I do get on Jake Olson is that you didn't do shit about it. And my question becomes, can you do shit about it? Do I think that Jake is a good X's and O's coach? Yes. I don't think Blake Baker gets his job and thinks to himself, oh, Jake Olson, he's a horrible X's and O's guy, so let me bring him with me and make him the safeties coach. I don't think that happens. What I do think that happens, okay, is that he sees something in him from an X's and O's, and the first-time position coach is struggling with recruiting. I think he's struggling in the developmental piece of it. And we say that until you see Deshaun Spears do what he's done the last 4 days. He may have something there. He might be able to work with something there. I will tell you this, until the day comes that Deshaun Spears shows me that he shouldn't be out there running with the ones, I am putting him out there and getting him as many game reps as I can. As many of them as I can. Javian Toviano, nobody. Because he's better than Tove. Especially now for Deshaun Spears when you have better corner play. D Music on YouTube says a healthy Perkins in Weeks will make this defense absolutely scary. Here's what I'd say about that. Guys, Weeks disappeared in big games. He vehemently disappeared. So a couple things with that. Number one is that his interior defensive line gave him zero help at all. And I think it's why you go and get another defensive tackle from the portal and you try to supplement it the best way that you can. I agree with you is if he gets better play in front of him, I do think Witt will be a lot better. And I'm interested to see what happens when he does get better play up front. As far as Harold Perkins is concerned, if you're going to send the star position 50% of the time, put Perk out there and see what happens. See what happens. Marvis on YouTube says, when will they start shuffling that starting defense? I do not know. I do not know. I hope it's soon. Guys, I am of the opinion bro, the USL people are ratting out Cajun-omics again, as I see on Twitter. I don't even remember what I was going to say now. Don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, I am of the opinion that every rep matters. I just do not agree. Do not agree with the situation at hand that these reps mean nothing. I don't agree with that. I think every rep means something. Every rep. Guy can have a good play there, a bad play there. And I'll say, oh, that's a great play, man. Hey, man, that's a great play by Cooley. It's a great play by Cooley. Or, oh, man, it ain't good at all. That's how I do. Because I feel as if this is what I think. What I think is that coaches no, how do I want to say this? I do think that coaches take for granted every single rep. Guys, it is of my humble opinion around college football. I cover college football year-round, nationally and here, when it just comes to LSU on AYS. From a national perspective, development around college football has gone down, way down. It does have some – everybody blames that it's the NIL and the portal. No, it's not. I mean, some of it, yes, I will agree. I think it's around maybe 50% of it. Even if it is a high number of 50%, which I'm being generous in my opinion. Because no more two-a-days. These kids aren't going through more walkthroughs. They're getting paid. They're fat and comfortable. They don't understand what it's like to be a pro. And they're learning. They're learning. And the truth of the matter is, the teams that put in the most work, when it comes down to crunch time, will beat you.